What's up, folks? Sean, the Average Angler, and today we've got a good one. It's wintertime. I mean, we are full-fledged wintertime here in my area, Northern California. Saturday I went out because I wanted to fish the storm, and I didn't think the winds were going to do what they said, and yeah, it was probably worse than what they said. But anyway, we caught a couple fish. Today we're going to talk about a bait that is for all of those of us who do not like to sit still. We still want to throw a reaction bait, but it's wintertime, so we need to make some adjustments. This is a crankbait, perhaps one of the best, call it mid-depth to shallow winter crankbait on the market. And that is the Berkeley Frittside, okay? Which if you look, it's a flat side crankbait, very narrow side to side here. This is a Frittside 9, okay? So this is gonna run the deepest, up to about 10 feet. It's a 1/2 ounce, so it's still gonna cast well. It's got this very unique bill on it. It deflects off a cover really, really well, because it's like a square bill, but it's a little wider at that front edge right here. If you look at it here, it's pretty wide, so the hooks sit inside of it. This is also a slow float, so it will back out of things if you get it caught. Say you reel it in between a couple branches, it will have a tendency, you give some slack, to slow rise backwards. Anyway, I've got a couple colors here that I like for a couple different situations in the water. Now, this is called Ghost Morning Dawn, and it's just a great bait fish color, right? Transparent, I can see all the way through it. I don't know if you can see that. You can see my hand behind it there. Great for clear water, okay? That's what I'm gonna wanna use the ghost type patterns, is in really clear water. Now, in wintertime, with rain and that kind of stuff, typically there's some sort of tinge to the water and that kind of thing. So if we have, call it a less than a couple of feet, less than 3 feet of visibility, that's where I'm gonna go to the craw pattern Frittside 9, okay? Now notice I said the 9, because if I'm getting down 8, 9, 10 feet, when I have 3 foot of visibility, the fish are gonna be pretty comfortable in that depth range, okay? And I really like a craw pattern almost year round. I mean, outside of the fall, when the shad pattern's so good, I'm gonna use the shad pattern, like I said, in clear water. But anytime I've got some coloration, less than 3 feet, I really like a craw pattern crankbait. Now, depending on where you're at, you may like different color craw patterns. Some of them have some more chartreuse on the bottom. There's a lot of variation, some like a mustard. Whatever works in your area, or whatever you have confidence in, is what I would go with. There's one called Blaze that's a little more orange than this one. Red Spring Craw has the yellow on the bottom. This one here is called Special Red Craw. There's a Firetail Green Craw, and there's a Ghost Red Craw, which is a transparent, and then a Root Beer Craw. It says it runs 7 to 10 feet, 2 3/4 inches, so it's not a big bait. It is the biggest Frittside, okay, which is the flat side. Now, these don't have rattles in them. They do have some that are called, have some sort of flicker to it or something they're called. I'm not sure. These are just a Frittside 9. Okay, these are ready to fish out the package. They got the Fusion 19 hooks on them. They're good and sharp. They're that coated hook. And you'll see they've got these 2 weights in the bottom. Okay, this helps with casting. There's another one in the bill there, which will help with the dive, but it helps by casting because it gets the weight of these baits up. Traditional flat side crankbaits don't weigh very much, and the downside is they don't cast very well. So most of the time I'm going to fish this on 12-pound test. Now, if I get somewhere like in our area or Northern California on Oroville or Lake Shasta, I may drop down to 10 pound. maybe even 8. But most of the time on my largemouth lakes, I'm probably throwing 12, okay? Now these do come in a lot of sizes for depth, okay? They'll go down, there's Frittside 9, Frittside 7, there's Frittside 5, there's a Frittsize Biggin, I think it's called, which is a 5 depth, but it's a bigger body. And then I think they have a junior, let me see what it's called. Yes, they have an HD5 Junior, which is a smaller size body, still dives to that depth. Look, the flat sides are great from now all the way into spring, okay? For guys like me that, look, I love to throw a jig, but I love to cover water too. And a lot of times I'm just restless. And if you got some wind out there, covering water is a great way to find fish. And let's face it, when there's a little bit of wind, fish tend to get up in that shallower water. Now, where do I like to throw these? Well, we don't have a whole lot of it here where I'm at, but if you got stump fields, great place to throw these. Where I tend to like to throw them in the area, what we do have is on vertical rock walls. If you got rock levees, I like to cast parallel in a depth where not necessarily where I'm digging them, but that I'm hitting them every once in a while. And typically I'm going to do a stop, go, retrieve. You just need to figure out what pace they want that day. Some days you may want to burn, stop, go. Some days you want to slow roll it and then stop, go. And at other times, just a moderate sweep of the rod, right? Sweep, reel up the slack. Sweep, reel up the slack. It's still a stop, go presentation, and that bait's going to hang around in their face. But by these being silent, it gives us an opportunity to kind of sneak our bait up on the fish when they're a little more lethargic, and all of a sudden this bait is in their territory and it's doing that nice tight wobble. It's not obnoxious. It's not like a real wide wobble crankbait that they get in the summer. These are nice tight wobbles. Call it more of a lazy action, but the fish really like it in the wintertime in the cold water months, okay? So get yourself, and there's a lot of other brands, folks. I just like the Berkeley, the Frittside, when it came out, was commonly referred to as the best crankbait on the market. It's very likely that it is still that way. There's some other great baits for this time of year. The Berkeley Frittside's a really good one. Hard to argue with David Fritt's design, the success of these baits. Okay, and everybody throws them as far as the pros go. Sponsored or not, they're throwing a flat side crankbait. Get yourself some, check them out, give them a try. Like I said, I throw it in a 12-pound test. I'm throwing it on a 703 cc, which is a crankbait I-rod. That's what I like to throw it on. 7 foot's perfect for me for the flat sides, okay? 12-pound test, maybe down 10, depending on your size of fish. Wood, rock levees. The other place I like to do is points, where I might be able to bump into some rock, gravel type points. You want to fish these near flats that drop off into a creek channel. Good feeding areas like that. But most of the time in my waters, I'm fishing it parallel to something just because we don't have a lot of stuff in the water. Sean the Average Angler, if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.